you can see it. Let me do that for you here. I don't know if this is really tough to see on the screen, but it is a layout of LSU's schedule. Obviously, with USC, Nichols, and South Carolina, we knew the times of those games. 6:30 on Sunday against USC, and then 6:30 that Saturday against Nichols, and at 11 a.m. against South Carolina against South Carolina. But ESPN announced the times that is going to be for every LSU game for the rest of the season. UCLA is going to be at either 2:30 or at 7, 6:45 against South Alabama. A night game for sure is coming against Ole Miss. That is a big deal there. A night game against Arkansas. A flex time between 2:30 and 7 against A&M. Same with Alabama. Same with Florida. Same with Oklahoma, and Vandy is going to be a night home game for the Tigers. You know what's interesting, man, and I don't think that we talk about this enough. I feel confident and I feel good that I think that you are right now a 9-3 football team. There are a lot of things that I do think that you have to get answers to. Are you good along your defensive line? Did JVR Suggs and any of these guys that are coming in, are they going to get you to the next level that you want to be in? Also, what does a guy like Tank Guillory do in his last season in Baton Rouge? Can you get something for Don McKinley? Can you get something from these corners and safeties? How do you replace 2 first-round wide receivers and a quarterback? We got questions. You have enough talent, though. More than enough talent to be 9-3. The schedule, though, is very interesting. Let's go to one game. Now, we're going to break down UCLA tomorrow. So we did USC, both USCs, South Carolina, and we did USC. We did South Carolina last week and USC the week before, as we break down all of LSU's games here. UCLA we're doing tomorrow. But I look at Ole Miss on October the 12th and ask myself the God's honest question. Look, Ole Miss has got a lot of portal talent. They got a lot of guys returning. Jackson Dart comes back into Baton Rouge. He's a starter yet again for the Rebels. They're returning a lot of wide receivers. They get Juice Wells. They get Walter Nolan and Chris Phillips on the defensive side of the football. Do you feel better, though, that game's going to be played at night in Death Valley? Because I do. I know what happens when games at night in Baton Rouge in October and November. What happens? Guys, it's an advantage. It always has been. It always will be. And I got to tell you, when you go into this environment, because the likelihood, the extreme likelihood, at worst, going in against Ole Miss, you're 4-1. You're not going to lose to Nichols. I don't think you're going to lose to South Carolina. I don't think that you're going to lose to UCLA. I don't think that you're going to lose to South Alabama. And then you got momentum in your favor in a night game in Death Valley. Guys, God forbid that game starts at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC in Death Valley. That place is going to be absolutely purely insane. Purely insane. It does actually, ironically enough, and I know that Ole Miss is very talented. I also know that they are going to get tested for the first time with all of these guys in the portal. Because the first real test that Ole Miss has is going to be a night game in Baton Rouge. You can make any on-paper excuse why Ole Miss is better here, why Ole Miss is better there than LSU. And on paper, I would probably actually agree with you. Like defensive line, like linebacker, like the secondary. Yes, on paper, I think that they have brought in and might have just as much, if not more talent than you at those 3 positions. What I can't tell you is how a whole bunch of dudes for the first time ever playing with one another, and that many of them going to Baton Rouge in a night game, in that game after what happened a year ago and say to yourself, row. How does Jackson Dart and this team of a lot of portal guys, Kiffin beat LSU last year, but has he really won the big game at Ole Miss? It is the big, guys, I could fully see 1,000% seeing College Game Day being in Baton Rouge on October the 12th. Now, what's going to happen is on June the 12th, I'm going to completely forget that I said this. Completely going to forget that I said in June that College Game Day has a very good chance of being there on October the 12th. It's a very good, strong possibility. That game gives me a little bit more hope, if I'm being honest. I start feeling a little bit better. Some other games on this. Here's one that I don't like. If we're going to play A&M at Kyle Field, I hope it's 11 or 2:30. Guys, we have not had success in Kyle Field the last couple of years. Now, does that change with a new head coach and yada, 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 yada? I don't know. Elko knows a lot about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly knows a lot about Elko. Elko was his DC for a long time. That one is going to be a chess match. Now, there's a lot of questions at A&M. Guys, they got a shitload of talent from that portal, too. So if that game in Kyle Field on October the 26th is at 7 p.m., one you could slip up in. November the 9th, Alabama. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you're going to lose that football game. I am not 1,000% confident. And now they say it's a flex time, either 2:30 or 7 p.m. in Death Valley, in Baton Rouge, LSU versus Alabama. Guys, that game's going to be on prime time, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, like it always freaking is. I mean, the Joe Burrow one that year, if y'all remember, was at 2:30. It's been at some other times. That game's going to be in prime time. And they 1,000% are going to put that one in prime time. That's another one. How is Kalen DeBoer's first season going? What is it like? Look, I know that the Washington-Oregon game was loud last year. Okay. How does Death Valley rattle him? There have been a lot of really good coaches that have come into Death Valley, into Baton Rouge, and shit has gone haywire. Kirby, Nick, name them. Name the coaches. It's a different beast, and I love ESPN. I might love the SEC being on ESPN exclusively. If they're going to give LSU this type of favoritism, thank you. I love everything about this. I think that one's going to be in prime time. And look, man, your two hardest games, in my opinion, outside or in conference, I should say, are the three: Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama. Two of them are in prime time at night, at home, at your home place. I love that. You got a chance, man. We've had a lot of question marks. With this. You got a chance. Now, we're going to get into August, okay? And we're going to see what this team's really made of. I hope that this team is like this LSU baseball team for the last month. They feel like they've been put in a corner, and they're that dog in the corner that you better not mess with. I hope that that's the football team that's going into every single day in that weight room and treating it like that. Going into that film room and treating it like that. But, man, you're not going to have any excuses. If Ole Miss game's at 2:30 and it's not in prime time, who lost? And it ain't going to be Ole Miss. Alabama, who lost? Is it going to be Alabama? Are you 100% sure? The last two, look, I think Vandy will be at 2:30. I don't think you're going to play them in prime time, but they say night. I know that they say night right now, and maybe they do. I don't know. But they say night 5 to 7. Okay, watch them flex that one, and then Oklahoma flex on November the 30th. They're not going to give you all night home games. I hope they give you Ole Miss and Alabama, and then make Oklahoma at 2:30. That's what I hope that they do. But I like that we don't have any 11 a.m. games, man. I don't know if I like going into Fayetteville at night either. And then the flex against Florida, I don't know if I – so where you got a lot of favoritism, I'm more worried about too. I mean, you actually do pretty good at prime time at night in Gainesville. So we'll see, man.